Good morning. How are we doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
Popcorn.
The home is empty.
Yeah.
The home is empty, so I'm ready to go.
I love Pop. This is Popcorn, my dog. She thinks she's a cat and she sits up here perched up, always looking for landscapers and lizards.
Nice.
So, good morning. We're just going to jump right in because we're never going to take more than 30 minutes of your time. And welcome to Mamas in Miami. We're together. We're going to navigate the journey of motherhood with fierce love and unwavering support. It takes a village, and Lizzy and I really excited to welcome you guys to ours. We're so incredibly humbled and grateful for all the amazing support that you all have shown us.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback and for the encouragement. I have to, even after being a business owner times two, I still had a little bit of imposter syndrome when we were starting this and a little bit of that fear, like, should I be doing this? Are people going to like it? Like, why am I taking something else on? Like all the things.
Right. You know, part of the reason how this came to light is that Lizzy and I had such amazing conversations when I was prepping for my spine surgery that we kept saying we should be inviting other people to join us in these conversations because we've gotten so much out of it. Maybe we could touch the lives of somebody else.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I'm going to start with sharing my birth story this morning. And my reasons of my why is not just this isn't just like storytelling per se, but more there's like always a why. I'm a big why person and a reason behind things. And number one, it's first and foremost that people are allowed to want to experience something, even if it seems so off kilter, even if it goes against the grain, and not what people usually do. And it's so important, I feel like, to support people in their journey. I wanted a natural childbirth, and not only did I want a natural childbirth, I was really set on it not happening in a hospital. I wanted to do it out of a birthing center with midwives. I did try the OBGYN route because, that little bit of fear crept in. It was my first pregnancy, my first child, and was a little nervous, and I honestly did not have a positive experience at all, and I didn't feel like I was seen as a person or heard, and it just didn't feel right. So I went, my husband thankfully was super on board, and we interviewed a birthing center and we loved it right away. We were in and out in an hour. I felt seen like a human, and a person. I felt cared for, and it was a great experience. I had a wonderful pregnancy. I had your back pain, of course, and my plantar fasciitis, started kicking in halfway through, and all those things, of course, like the discomfort of, growing a human inside of you. But really my pregnancy was perfect until it wasn't. Even up until the last moment. He was always my son Willie was in position, ready to rock, doing all the right things. And I'll never forget, it was Sunday, November 20th of 2022. And I thought my water broke. And so we call the birthing center and we go to the birthing center and they confidently tell me that my water did not break, and that I'm 4 centimeters dilated. And I was like, all right. And they're like, so just go ahead and carry on about your day. At that moment, I had already been experiencing slight contractions that resembled period cramps. So nothing crazy yet, but they were there. So my husband and I decided, because it is November and we know that we're basically about to give birth soon and Christmas is coming. So we're like, let's go buy a Christmas tree. So we go buy a Christmas tree. And that is when my first major contraction hit me. I was sitting in the car waiting for him to pay and bring the tree to the car. And I got the most intense contraction that I literally jumped out of the car, had to stand in order to deal with it. And then I was like, all right, we're starting with this. And, I've read all the things. I was like such a good student of being pregnant. I read all the things. So I'm like very aware of like the pre-labor stages and like what the contraction should look like, how long they should be, how far apart, all the things. So far, I'm not thinking anything of it. We get to the house. I'm literally contracting as I'm putting ornaments on the tree. If you know me personally, this does not surprise you. And so But finally, they are getting intense, and there was a whole thing of ornaments that never got to the tree because I was like, "I think I'm good here. We have enough stuff on the tree." And they started getting intense enough, and the day started progressing that I even told my husband verbatim, I was like, "I'm not sure how I'm gonna sleep like this tonight." And he was like, "I was thinking the same thing." And sure enough, it's time for us to go to bed, and there is no sleep happening. And not to mention also, in order for me to really work through these intense contractions I started getting, I had to stand. I had to stand, I had to walk. And so basically I do this. I do this throughout the night, and they are just getting fiercer and fiercer. And it finally dawned on me. I was like, something doesn't seem right here because it's either he's almost here or something's wrong because my contractions were often and they were lasting for a long time. I was like timing all of it, and I was just like not in a good place. So at 4 a.m., I wake my husband up and I was like, something's wrong. And mind you, I have a doula also that I hired through the birthing center, and my doula's out of town and she's not scheduled to get back into town till Tuesday night. So we're on the phone with her. It's 4 a.m. and she's like, "Go to the birthing center. I'm going to call them. I'm going to have them do a labor check on you." So we go, we do a labor check. They confirm yet again that my water pouch is still intact, that I have not broken my water, and that I'm still only 4 centimeters dilated. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me with what I've just been experiencing all night, that I am still not anywhere closer. But then they also are watching me labor, and they're like, "Your contractions are lasting really long." They're like, "You might be dehydrated." So they hooked me up to an IV. That helped. They do another labor check. I'm still not anywhere else. So then they also realize, though, that they're like, "It seems like he's stuck in your pelvis." So now their next move is, while I'm contracting, they had different positions and movements that they wanted me to do in order to basically get him dislodged out of my pelvis and basically for him to start the journey down over again, is the plan. Let me tell you something. One of them, it was like resembled like the Heimlich maneuver, like if someone was choking. And so they wanted my husband to stand behind me and put his hands underneath my belly. And then when my contraction started, wanted him to pull back and lift up to see if we could get Willie out of my pelvis. And there are no words in any language that could describe that level of pain and discomfort. I boohooed, cried like a little girl. They put me in more positions, and it was just, I mean, I'm a yogi. I'm a yogi. I know all the breathing techniques. Right. I am breathing like a dragon at this point. I am literally exercising all my tools. Like I have the mental toughness. I'm doing the breathing. I'm like working through it. My husband's super supportive. I have two midwives there trying to work it through. I mean, finally, by hydrating me, the contractions got to a manageable point, I would say. And so they're in a manageable point. But I'm still only 4 centimeters. They did about like 3 labor checks while I was there. And even after all those exercises and moves and like boohoo crying, I'm still not anywhere further. So they send me home and they're like, try to get some rest. Well, what rest looked like on that, now we're on Monday. Now it's Monday. And what rest, and remember, I have not slept all night. Right. And now what rest looks like, because I'm still contracting, is basically squeezing in 15, 20-minute naps in between contractions. And that's basically what I did. Although finally towards nighttime, it felt like my body knew what I needed. And I was able to get 1 full hour of sleep. And that's the most sleep I got in all of this before giving birth. And then the best way, I understand now why people love water births, because the most tolerable that I could withstand these contractions and this laboring was standing in the shower and just standing there, letting the water hit my belly, letting the water hit my back. I would get on all fours in the shower. I would do hands on the wall in the shower. And that was like the best place until my legs really just couldn't hold me up anymore. And so now it's, Tuesday morning. And since I still don't seem to have been progressing much further, they want me to get an ultrasound. And when I go to the ultrasound, they said that I'm very low on fluid. And they're like, "When's your water break?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Apparently my water hasn't broken. So I don't know how I'm low on fluid." So anyways, they're like, "Well, this baby needs to come out today because you're too low on fluid." So I go back to the,
And are we now, Lizzie? Let's
We are now 2.5 days in of laboring without any drugs or any progression. And I
home going back to the birthing center.
Oh, we went back and forth, all the things. Our bags with us each time, our food with us each time, all the things. And so they go back to the birthing center again. This is now Tuesday afternoon. And they go to do another labor check. And when I undress, boom, there comes out like a big gush of fluid. That must be my water breaking. And then they do a labor check and they tell me that I am still 4 centimeters. And then they also tell me the news that I am no longer a good fit to have a baby there and that I have to go to the hospital. Now,
What were your feelings at that moment?
very, very defeated, very scared. To me, going to the hospital meant an automatic C-section. So, and my doula is scheduled to fly in and her flight gets canceled. And so she will not be there at all. So I'm just feeling like everything is going against what I wanted. And even though the midwives were so warm and helpful and encouraging this whole time, the one specific midwife who delivered that message delivered it a little cold for me. And I didn't feel very supported in that moment. So now we have to come home and repack our bags because if you're going to give birth in a birthing center, you don't spend the night there. Once you give birth, once the baby breastfeeds for the first time, past the first bowel movement, and they do all the checks that they have to do, same checks that they do in the hospital, they send you home. And literally you can go home within 4 to 6 hours of giving birth. So my bag being packed for the birthing center needs to now look very different for the hospital. But imagine, I has now been 2.5 days of laboring, no sleep. That bag that I packed for the hospital made 0 sense. I did not have anything I needed. We go to the hospital and it's like a scene of a movie because we have no relationship with any doctor. I'm showing up to Mount Sinai on the beach where we live. And we literally walk in with the birthing ball, with all of our things. And we're like, we're here to have a baby.
And they're probably looking at you saying, "Who are you? We've never seen you before."
Basically,
and they stop you right there. I want to stop you right there because let's not forget that you are somebody's daughter. You have a mama too, okay?
oh, my parents at this point are just like besides themselves. And it's, of course, because they wanted me the whole time. They're with that, I forget what you call it, that founders membership with Baptist Hospital. You know, my dad could have had me set up with a suite. And the whole time, I'm like, I'm not interested in going to Baptist. They keep me away from there. Like all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so we show up and they're like, do you have a doctor? Nope, no doctor. And they're like, all right. So they just admit me, all the things. And I'm trying to, I tell them, I'm like, I still need to labor. I need to stand. And they're like, all right, but you got all this stuff hooked up to you. They're like, just be careful. And so we finally get into the room and the main doctor comes in and she does a labor check and she tells me that I can't remember exactly, but I'm either 5 or 6 centimeters. So
In 3 days now or 2 days?
yes, and almost 3 days.
3 days.
So side note, if you are someone that knows you want a natural birth, there is coaching of your partner that also goes into this. So I had to tell Danny because I was being taught, my husband Danny, I was like, I for sure laboring like most women that want to go natural, and I will ask for an epidural at some point in time because I'm going to want to give up because I'm going to be exhausted and this is going to be unbearable. And I'm like, under no circumstances do you fold and allow it to happen. This is what I've told him up until the whole time, right? I'm like, don't give in to my request. And I'm like, it's from what I hear and understand, I will request it, but don't let me, right? Because you know what my end goal is and what I want. So when they tell me that I'm 5 to 6 centimeters dilated and that clearly it shows that I've progressed a little bit, my husband, he's like, okay, you're progressing, go a little bit longer. So I labor another 6 hours in the hospital without drugs. It is now close to midnight on that Tuesday night. They come and check me again, but they still say I'm at that 5, 6 centimeter mark. So at that point I go, I cannot anymore. I go, I need an epidural because not just for the pain. And I'm like, but I need to sleep.
Right.
I'm like, it's been 3 days and there's not rest waiting for me at the other side of this. Like I'm going to be a mom at the other side of this. And I'm going to have a newborn. So I get the epidural and I finally rest. And my husband and I finally rest. And then they start the slow drip of Pitocin. And I even asked, I go, "Are you sure we have to do this route? Is there not something else we can do? I've heard all kinds of things. I know other kinds of people's experience of Pitocin and things going not the best way." And the nurse was so nice, but she was like, "No, everything is going to be fine." She's like, "We're going to start a slow drip." So they start the slow drip. And this is where shit hits the fan. And all of a sudden, I mean, my husband and I are passed out, the room is dark, and all of a sudden, within seconds, every doctor, nurse, attending, you name it, is in our room, lights on, and you can tell it is like code red status. And I am like woken up from my slumber, and they are like, his heartbeat has dropped 50%. And so they are flipping me all over in all kinds of directions to get his heartbeat back up. They finally do. They leave. My husband and I have no words. I mean, we just look at each other and we literally just go back to sleep. We have nothing to say. Within, I couldn't tell you the amount of time that passed, but then the same thing again. My room is filled with at least 10 people, and they are doing everything again. His heartbeat has dropped again dramatically. They're trying to find it. They're trying to get it back up. They stick a fetal monitor up me, attach it to his head, and then they're like, "We're gonna stop the Pitocin. He's obviously not responding well." I'm like, "You think?" And so they stop the Pitocin. We fall back asleep, but then it happens a third time off of a regular contraction. And finally the doctor's like, "You have been in labor for a long time. Um, Obviously he's been under distress." They're like,
Right.
"You need a C-section." And so at this point, I'm just like, "Get him out."
Of course.
So now it's the mad dash of being rushed to surgery, gathering our things. They strapped me down, which what made me feel like I'm in a psych ward. They strapped me down to the table. It freaking sucks. They have to wait until everything is completely set up before they let my husband in. They perform the C-section. They pull down a curtain. They had one of those clear curtains. They let me see my son. I immediately lost it crying. One, out of relief that, like, thank God he's here
Yeah.
and he's alive,
Yeah.
and everything's okay. And then they put his cheek up to mine, and man, that warmth, that feeling of like his skin against mine is a feeling and a sensation I'll never forget. But it sucked. I wanted to hold him so bad, and I'm strapped to a table and I can't. And then they take him away, and I send my husband to go with him.
Right.
Because remember, also a reason of birthing centers, there's lots of things that the hospital does that I was not about. So I told my husband, I'm like, "You go with him and make sure none of those things happen." So, and so I'm there by myself. And for anyone else that's gone through a C-section, like, yes, you're numb to a certain extent
Right.
where I can't feel like a scalpel being, like, but at the same time, like you feel
Oh,
plenty.
yeah.
There's plenty that you feel like I felt the moving of all my insides. And then now they're struggling to get my placenta out. They had asked me multiple times if like I had surgeries before. And I was like, "Nope, this is my very first surgery ever. I've never had
Into a hospital.
like, this is my first rodeo here in all senses of the word,
Right.
of the phrase right now." And so it took them a long time. And finally, the doctors, and mind you, I wanted no drugs. I'm a naturist. I don't take medicine for anything. I don't take antibiotics for anything. Like, I'm one of those. I have to be in dire states to take any of those things. And finally, one of the anesthesiologists was like, "I can give you a nice little cocktail of things so you don't feel any of this." And I was like, "Well, you guys have already drugged me plenty, so might as well add it to the mix." So I dozed off, and it's 2 hours later or so, what my husband says, and I'm in the recovery room, and my husband comes in, and we had our emotional moment because we were like, "What was that? Like, what was that? What was everything that just happened?" Like, trying to process everything. And then I finally asked him, like, "Can I see him?" And he's like, "Yes, you can." And so they brought him into me, and he said my entire mood and demeanor and everything changed the minute I got my son. And it's so many people knew the experience I wanted to have. So many, and yet when people found out about my traumatic experience, it's so interesting how few people really wanted to hold the space for me to share my story, or really even asked how I was doing and feeling from it. And And it's one of those, like, something I'm hoping that we can change on this platform is that, you know, making people a little bit more comfortable with having the tough conversations, hearing the hard and tough stories, and not just diminishing it or shoving it to the side or pretending like it never happened. Another thing is, so many people, the people that did want me to share my story and listened, like, it's like how immediately we just like want to shut down the bad feelings and just go. And I'm all about being positive, all about it. My people call my husband and I Mr. and Mrs. Brightside, and I'm a yoga teacher, for crying out loud. Of course, I'm about the positivity. And, so many people just wanted to quickly say, oh, but it doesn't matter. He's here and you're here, and that's all that matters. Yes. And I still went through a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Important for me to acknowledge it and process it so I don't bring it to my next birthing experience. And also, still very valid that I feel the way I feel. And the way I feel is I for sure labored like a boss. But
Right.
do I feel like I gave birth? I do not at this moment right now. I feel like surgeons gave birth for me.
Huh.
Now, do I like feeling like that? I don't, but it's how I feel. Do I know if I will feel like this forever? I don't know. I can't answer that because forever hasn't happened yet. Um, do I know many people that have had C-sections that don't feel that way? Absolutely. Do I know people that elect to have a C-section because they're not interested to experience an eighth of what I experienced? I totally understand why. I totally understand why. And I have no judgment to those people. Like, if you want to schedule it because you are not interested in feeling what a contraction feels like, I understand why. If you want to just know when your baby is coming instead of having that anxiety and that anticipation, I understand why. And for those of you that still want the natural birth, I will not like how others did to me and shared their bad stories of trying to have a natural birth, and they dumped their negative story on me, which I also was not helpful or supportive, or appreciated. I would still tell anyone who still was aiming to have a natural childbirth, go for it. Go for it. I know plenty of people that have had natural childbirths and that it went exactly how they wanted it to go. I have friends that delivered at home. I had the friends that delivered in the hospital on no drugs, as much as they try to push them on you. I know people that have had very successful stories. And so I would never dump my story on someone else as like a means of like prepare yourself. Although my takeaway was, I wish, I was so focus on what you do want to happen. Manifest, right? That what word we throw out a lot, like manifest the positive experience you do want to have. And I do wish I sat with, okay, what does it look like if it doesn't go my way? And how am I going to handle it and process it? And how can I be prepared for that? Because I was not prepared for an emergency C-section. My bag wasn't prepared. My mind wasn't prepared. My heart wasn't prepared. And then the recovery of what came after was not prepared. That shit is for the birds. After it's like, what is this? And, and so there's lots of takeaways from this, but I would still strongly encourage anyone that's like wanting to go against the grain, you do that. And also be prepared for, as motherhood will show you over and over again, you can plan all you want. You can be as type A.
Oh, yeah.
You can be organized. You can think of all of it and be prepared and know that it will not happen that way.
And be okay with it.
And be okay with it and go with the flow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would
And all in all,
other spectrum.
yeah.
I had two planned C-sections, never made it to my due date. They ended up in emergency C-sections. I will tell the story the other day, but I planned for those. I'm the type A, and I had to come to peace with the fact that it wasn't going to go my way. I had this fantasy that I was going to go with my hair blow dried, my nails done. It was going to be this beautiful event. Not life does not go as planned, especially when there's children involved.
Absolutely. And then of course, I didn't get the birthing experience that I wanted, but I am eternally grateful that my son and I are both here and alive. And I am so thankful for the experience of being his mother and being able to raise him. And my story will always be my story. My experience will always be my experience. And it won't take away from this other experience that I get to live daily.
Amen. And Lizzy, the fact that you've just told this 3-day story in under 30 minutes, yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
Um, with that in mind, knowing that it's not going to go according to how you wanted to, what do you wish for the day you go through this experience again? What would you hope for?
Um, that I can just go, that I can just trust that whatever happens is going to happen the way it's supposed to, and that the end goal is a healthy and alive mom and baby. And however it needs to transpire is how it'll transpire, and I'll be ready for it all.
Fantastic. Lizzy, thank you so much for your vulnerability today. I hope it
Of course.
helps, somebody else who's considering a home birth or going natural, or somebody who's planning it all the way up to the upteenth inning and knowing that it may not go their way and still have grace to be okay with it.
That and also being in support, when someone shares what they hope their birthing story to be, even if it's like so opposite, you know, even if you don't say words that are discouraging, just know that the energy you give off is plenty. The facial expressions, like watch that, like just like we hold space, right? Is another term we throw out there. That's what holding space is like a non-judgment, non-reactionary, like just it's okay. Like everyone, motherhood is such a personal journey,
Yep.
and there's so many personal decisions, and there's so many ways to go about it all. So many ways to get pregnant, to give birth and have a baby, to parent, to raise a kid, all the things. And just holding space and being okay with everyone's way of wanting to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, I'm so proud of you. You definitely
Mhm.
wore a superhero cape for those 3 days amongst the many capes that you already hold.
I didn't
Because
feel like one.
that is amazing. But that's unfortunately all the time we have for today. We hope you made it to your commute or made it to work, finished your nursing, got to the pediatrician's office in time. And Lizzy, thank you again.
Thank you,
Next
Kirsty.
week, absolutely. Next week, we've got Alana Giarte. She's a board certified behavior analyst and founder of Maven and Behavior, who's going to be talking to us. She's been working with kids with autism for the last 15 years. And she's also a stepmom and mom to a beautiful 3 and 10-year-old boy. She's going to be sharing her story with us next Monday and Friday. So we will circle back. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your babies.
Yes, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Thank you.